All right, are we good now? All right, perfect. All right, sorry. There's some technical difficulties over here, so I appreciate y'all patience. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you all for joining us. Really just appreciate the fact that you are here and present with us at 6:11 p.m. There's a couple more folks coming into the room. And so we are going to get started. I don't know, I think the monologues is like one of my favorite things about Brown Mamas. And so I get like super antsy and anxious about talking about it. So we're going to do some brief introductions first. And then we are going to get right into it. And so I'll introduce myself first. So my name is Chanel Allen, and I actually had a chance. Sorry, y'all, a couple more people are coming in. And so I actually had a chance to be a part of the Brown Mama Monologues back in 2019. It was the second annual show. And it was the best experience I ever had in my life. And I hope that everyone who is here with us, you just really just listen in and just take in what these ladies are talking about in terms of like their experience and their journey with the monologues and audition. And so I introduced myself. Like I said, I participated in the monologues, but my role now with Brown Mamas, I actually just started in January. And so I oversee like the day-to-day operations of the organization and really help with the planning and strategy behind the vision, mission, as well as a lot of our events and things like that we have going on. And so thank you all. As you came into the room, we've asked the ladies to just put your name in the chat and also just tell us where you're from, because we have a lot of ladies from outside of the region of Pittsburgh too. Now, as far as our panelists, I am going to ask that you all introduce yourselves though. And I'll just basically just look on how I have you on my screen. So Allegra, if you want to start, you can go.
Sure. Hi, ladies. Welcome, everybody. My name is Allegra Battle, and tonight I will be hosting the panel discussion that we're going to have a little later on the agenda. But I have been a part of the Brown Mama Monologues since the inception, and since the inception of Brown Mamas as well. So that was 2018. Now, I mainly work now in the media and production of the monologues, but I've also done makeup in the past and worked event setup and things like that. So tonight I am the panel moderator. So excited to see so many moms on the call, and this is going to be a great experience.
Thank you, Allegra. Elena, you want to go?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Elena. I was a part of the Brown Mama Monologue this past year in 2022. So really look forward to chatting with you ladies.
All right, Yolanda.
Good evening, ladies. My name is Yolanda Lovey Andrews. Those of you from Pittsburgh probably recognize me from the Facebook group. I serve as an admin in the Facebook group, and I was part of the original monologue show that occurred in 2018. So Allegra did bless my face with her makeup capabilities and everything, and I'm glad to be asked to join in tonight to give some insight.
Thank you, Yolanda. Cordelia, if you want to go.
Sure. Good evening, ladies, and welcome, mamas. So my name is Cordelia Spence, and I am from New York. Okay, I'm from New York. I'm a recent transplant to Connecticut. We'll talk about that later, but I'm from New York. And I was a part of the 2021 show, the first show for the DMV area. And it was beautiful and so exciting. And I've been connected to Muffy and the Brown Mamas through we actually happened to meet on Facebook, and I've been in love with the Brown Mamas ever since. So welcome, and you ladies will enjoy just being in the room.
Thank you, sis. Andrea, your turn, and then Lisa.
Hi, moms. This is Andrea. I was part of the second annual Brown Mama's Monologue. My story was about my journey into single motherhood. You guys should be excited about the Brown Mama's Monologue. It was definitely one of the best experiences for myself as well. I also participated in, I think, the last three, so that the three after mine, just to give people the same panels, but they were in person, of course, just giving new speakers insights on how to get rid of those jitters and help them write their monologue so it can be less nerve-wracking. So I look forward to speaking to everyone, and thank you guys for being here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Pickett. Looks like, can you see me okay?
It's a little distorted, Lisa.
Okay, how about now? Is that better? Okay, good. Hi, ladies. Hi, Mama. So excited to be here today. Like I said, my name is Lisa Pickett, and I was in the 2020 Brown Mama Monologues, where I focus on, mine was called Welfare Application. Later on, it was changed to Welfare Shame, where I talked about my journey of being pregnant fresh out of college, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and really having to go down and apply for welfare and just being completely and utterly ashamed, and I felt like a failure. So being in the Brown Mama Monologues, like a lot of the ladies said already that have introduced themselves, absolutely positively fell in love with Muffy's mission in the Brown Mama Monologues. And I've been a part of it since 2012 when I had my second son, who is now 12. And the journey for me has just been life-changing. So I'm happy to be here and share any experiences and answer any questions, because we want you in the show so that you can also share your experiences and really have an effect on other women who need to hear your stories and your voice.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you all. I think we all share the same sentiments about just the Brown Mama Monologues and just how transformational it is, and just how impactful, especially for me, just personally going through that experience, because it truly is an experience. It's really not just that you jump on stage. It is an experience from the time you audition to after you get off of stage. And so we really want to be able to just share with y'all all of that today. So why are we here today? Basically to give you as much information as possible about the monologues, because we want to set you up for success. We want to prepare you for what to expect when you audition, and we want to be able to answer any questions that you have regarding auditions, and as long as we have the answers, we will give them to you, but also to get you excited about it too, to get you excited about it and to share that excitement with anybody that you know, because when I say this show needs to be around for as long as we can possibly have it, it truly does, because I know with Muffy and just getting the opportunity to know her personally as well as professionally over the last couple years, her passion for the Black mothering experience and that narrative being translated to whoever accurately and from our perspectives, it truly represents who she is. And the monologues allows us to be able to do that. And so we want you to be able to bring your most authentic self, not perfect self, your most authentic self to the stage. And so the best thing that we can do in terms of trying to help you understand what a monologue is I'm actually going to play one for y'all real quickly. I'm not going to play the whole thing. Nobody knows who I chose. I'm not sure if they're on it or not, but let me just put it, let me bring it up. And if somebody, when I do bring it up, if somebody can just kind of give me the thumbs up or just let me know that you're good and you can see it and hear it fine. All right, that's not it. That's not it. I'm gonna make it bigger. I just want to get through this part. So this is from the most recent show. I'm standing. Girl, you knock me out. Oh, excited. So standing, baby. I would fast forward, but I don't want to miss where I need to be with it. So just bear with us. Enjoy the music.
Wasn't that awesome? When she said cat wife, I got excited. Because, you know, we all, as wives, we always like, oh, yes, listen, I don't want to do a thing. I'm not trying to turn a doorknob.
The only thing I noticed about Vimeo is it buffers a lot, so I may have to jump to another one.
That seems like a great life, right? But if it's not the life that you were destined to live, not your purpose, I mean, she had the strength to walk away, and that's beautiful. So our next speaker, she is a breastfeeding educator, a nationally known doula, a life coach, and so much more. If you have breastfed in the city of Pittsburgh between 1990 and today, more than likely, Ngazi taught you how to do it. So please welcome to the stage, and we're so honored to have her. So please welcome to the stage, Ngazi Tibbs.
Please welcome to the stage, Ngazi Tibbs, sponsored by Allegheny Health Network.
And so the host that you all just saw, Shanice, she actually was in the show, the DC show, and came back as a host because her personality just really shined through. And so Muffy asked her to come back as a host because so there's so many opportunities within Brown Mamas.
I used to believe that my body was broken.
If it freezes, I'm gonna jump to another one. If it freezes again, I'm just gonna jump to another one. All right, always got a backup plan. Hold on one second. I really wanted you all to hear hers because hers was really, and they all were, but hers was really
Worthy to carry
poetic.
anything but pain and secrets. His secret was that he liked little girls. Taught me adult things at 6 years old. Stole my innocence and broke my trust. I used to believe that my body was evil and made men do bad things because he said it was my fault. I was irresistible, so I covered up. Wore long sleeves to hide the self-inflicted scars. Dressed like a boy so nobody would see me. Hid the curves that cursed me. I just wanted to be invisible and hurt no more. I didn't trust anyone. I was convinced that they all could see what had been done to me, like I had some scarlet letter on my chest that said, "This girl is poison." So I pretended to be fine. But you know what? The School of the Arts is where I would shine. I was one of the top dancers in my class. I didn't want nobody to call me fast. Unlike my friends, I only let one boy get close. Went to college at 17, had my mind on my books, tried to hide, I felt unclean. I used to believe I was unworthy of love till I met this handsome prince. I warned him to run away while he had the chance, but he saw the beauty beneath the hurt. Courted me so innocently, held my hand, wrote me corny love letters, but they were sweet. He kissed me for the first time on Valentine's Day. I showed him my soft side. He taught me how to drive. I had finally arrived to a place where I could rest. But still, deep down inside, I felt like my body was blasphemous. So I started stuffing myself with food, trying to hide the pain. Binged and purged till the suicidal feelings went away. Shame had reared its ugly head once again. But you know what? That Black man loved me still, made me smile again. We took walks in the sun, got married in 1991. I felt brand new, and the love that we made, it grew into 5 gifts. 5 babies entrusted to us from the Most High, and they gave me the strength to fight Goliath. Now I had the upper hand. I looked down into his drunken eyes, and he was weak. He could no longer hurt me. The little girl inside rose up and took her rightful place. The ancestors' voices whispering in my ear, emboldened with the power to fight him, to crush him under my feet. I chose forgiveness. Now, don't get it twisted. This wasn't for him, it was for me. Because I no longer wanted to see his monstrous face in my dreams. Yeah, I forgave. Because my babies deserved a mama who was healed and whole. So I forgave. I didn't want the shame to keep me bound anymore. I forgave and took back all those years that were stolen. Because you know what? Forgiveness looks good on me. So brothers and sisters, don't let your past keep you bound. Unforgiveness will lie to you about who you really are. Learn how to walk in your truth. Release and reclaim. Love yourself, your man, your woman, your babies, and open your arms to receive your gifts. I'm so blessed. I didn't get 5, I got 6.
Whew, so that was Ngazi. And like I said, everybody's stories are so powerful, but we felt that it just made a lot of sense to even just share with you all and show you an actual monologue, because we want you to be able to just see what it feels like, what it looks like to be on stage and really just take it all in. And so I'm sorry, I have a couple people coming in. All right. All right, so what is a monologue? So you've got a chance to, to listen to her story, and then we'll get into the panel discussion, because I think the storytellers, the former storytellers, will really be able to just give you all just a better idea of, just the whole experience versus me just talking at you. But again, we just still want to make sure that we're preparing you and setting you up for, for success when it comes to the auditions. And so one thing that we know a monologue is it's truly, it's a vivid imagery. And as Ngazi was speaking and as the storytellers are speaking, you should be able to actually envision what they're talking about. It's not a speech. And so you're not necessarily listening and going over bullet points and things like that, but you truly are walking us through your experience. It has a beginning, it has an end, it has a climax, it has relaxation, body language, elevating voices, changing perspectives, things like that. All those is really what's going to, just help you to really communicate and translate your story on stage. At the end of the day, you're telling your story. No one else's story but yours. And so you know your story best. I remember when we were practicing, and I think, and some of y'all may be able to relate, just having the nerves of how am I going to remember my story? How am I going to remember it? It's your story. So even if you forget 1 or 2 words, at the end of the day, you're going to know it because it's your story. And that's something that we just want to make sure that we communicate to you all too, is that you are telling your story from your perspective. And so if within your story, it's about someone else, you're telling it from your point of view, but a truly important thing that you absolutely have to do is you have to have that conversation with that person. out of respect for them and out of respect for the information that you're putting out there, because we know reputations are everything. And so we don't ever want anyone to get on stage without being able to do that first. And if you're, for some reason, you're not able to, then maybe you just need a little bit more time to heal. And so just want to make sure that, you know, everyone is mindful of that as they are thinking about what your story is. And I'm sure you have plenty of stories, but we just want to hone in on that one story that you're going to tell on stage. And just know we will have time for Q&A after. Good question. Can I make it a full screen? I was trying to, but honestly, I'm just scrolling through it. And so you all will have access to this document though. So I'll make sure that you're able to access this document, because I don't want to mess anything up in terms of tech on my side, but I'll make sure that y'all have this document. In terms of your story, keep it short and sweet. Or your monologue is typically going to be about between 5 and 7 minutes long. So you will realize that even as you are writing your story, what you come with the day of auditions, I promise you, it probably won't be that when you go on stage. Not saying that we're going to deviate from your story, but you will get a writing coach, you'll get a speaking coach, and so they will help you craft it to where you're able to tell it to where your audience understands. So the other thing is just, being ready to write, whenever you start to write your story, just let it flow. Don't try to overthink it. Just truly just let it flow from your heart and allow yourself to really to be in it, to be present with it. And when you audition, bring that with you, bring that passion, bring that with you. And please don't think that you have to bring a perfect piece, because it's not going to be perfect. So I talked enough. I am going to turn it over. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to turn it over to Allegra and our former storytellers, and they're going to tell y'all more about just the experience of the monologues. I'm going to put myself on mute. After they do that, then we'll talk a little bit more about logistics and things like that. All right, I'm muting myself.
Cool. Thank you, Chanel. And welcome again, ladies. So excited to share this experience with you all. So before we get started, I just want to clear up one question that I know you all might be having. And so the first question I know that I might have is, can you tell a story about anything? So yes, you can. As long as it's a story about your experience in Black motherhood, yes, you can tell a story. And we saw the story, a very thought-provoking story, but there have been stories that have been funny, stories that are spiritual, all different types of stories, and each individual mother speaker, they bring that story to life. So my first question for the panel is, and anyone can answer this question, but I just want to know personally, why did you decide to tell your story? Anybody can answer it of the panel.
I can say for me, it was because oftentimes I would meet women who would assume certain things about me and not realize that as Black women in particular, we most likely have all gone through some sort of journey. And I wanted to stop the culture of us thinking that we can't be tender towards each other. We can't share our stories, that we always have to wear a mask and walk around like we are just impenetrable, like we don't cry, we have to be hard, we can't show any emotions. And if we have gone through something, we need to hurry up and snap back and get back to being, strong Black women. So I wanted to just go on the stage and make sure everybody knew that we all have, experiences. And I didn't want to keep what I thought was a secret, what I thought I needed to be ashamed of, but really was a gem, because there was somebody in the audience who heard it and it gave them that sense of tenderness and validation that, wait a minute, I'm not alone. There's other women that have gone through this too. And it's just a period. It's just a time. It doesn't define me. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, and as to what Lisa said, for me, when I chose to share my story, it was a journey. It started out as a journey for me, if I'm being honest. It started out as a journey for me because I was ready to release what I considered actual baggage from my story. And because I had been holding it for so long, and because I had so much shame around it, because I felt like no one else really has gone through this particular thing, and I haven't heard anyone say this. So I was holding it back, and I felt like it was stifling me in general. And I felt at that time, I'm gonna hop in my car and I'm gonna drive to Maryland and I'm gonna audition for this show, and I'm gonna just be real, because just like how I was feeling alone and ashamed, and I felt that I needed empowerment, I was like, maybe there is one other mom out there that looks like me who will also feel empowered if she hears that, yes, I was there. Yes, I went through that, but now here I am. And, the stage was symbolic, not just for performing a monologue, right? And for, in a way, elevating our story. But for me, the stage was also symbolic for, it's only up from here. I went through that to get to this part of my life, to this stage. And now it's only up from here. How do I want to present my story moving forward after I've told and released this one? So that was my purpose from, like I said, it changed over time, but my purpose initially was because I was ready to release it.
Definitely. And one thing I heard from both of you was empowerment. So this feeling of being empowered, how did that translate when you got on the stage to actually perform? We know everyone's not a performer. Now I know Lisa personally, so I know we went to a performing arts high school, so I know you are used to being on stage. But for people not used to being on stage, how did you, I guess, translate that story and that feeling of empowerment to the stage and to the audience? How was that experience?
Hi, this is Andrea. I guess for me, I just was myself. When I was done with my monologue, my family was there, my friends was there, of course. And the first thing they said was, Andrea, like, you were really you. Like, that is exactly how you are, the way I talked, everything, the way I moved around the stage and everything. That was a big thing, was moving around the stage and not just standing there, just so timid and frozen. I utilized the stage, and that really helped me loosen up. I also looked up a lot instead of looking down or focusing on one spot. That really helped me maneuver the stage and just be my authentic self.
Yeah, and I'll go for me, it was really brave of me. So, everyone has a different experience. So I was still very nervous going up on the stage, but I was really, just, you sometimes have to do things fearful, right? So I did it, and I really, just really wanted to own the stage and tell my story. And as I looked into the audience, I seen a lot of people that was captivating and they were engaged. So that really made me feel a lot better and more relaxed in telling the story. So, but I definitely I would say I was very brave going up there doing it.
And Andrea said something that is very important. She said she used her authentic voice and she was her authentic self. And that's something we really push for the mothers, to be authentic. We want to hear your story, because who can tell your story better than you? So that's one thing, to really keep that authentic, the word I'm trying to say, that word, be authentic. And just speaking of that, so ladies, we do not leave you out here alone. You have a story, you present it. Just like Chanel said, we have writing coaches, we have speech coaches, all of those things to help you guys through. So from your experience working with the speech coach, working with the writing coach, what was that experience? Did you feel like you lost any of that authentic voice of yours? Did you lose anything in the process, or did you just gain everything? I just want to hear from one or two of you about how was that process with the writing coach and the speech coach?
I'll say for me, our cohort was a little bit different because we were affected with COVID from the COVID regulations. So everything was virtual for the most part. But I will say the experience with the writing coach, if you thought you came up there with a story, I'm like, this is good. Like, I got this finally. She's not going to shoot you down, but she's going to be like, yeah, this is good. We're going to take it to great. So honestly, it didn't take away from the authenticity or from my story. I felt like it enhanced it. And I felt even more confident with my story because this is a professional coming in, looking at my writing, hearing my story, giving me feedback to just make it land in a way that aligns with the show. So yeah, I felt like I said, like a professional for real, like I'm ready to tell my story now, for real, So it was really great.
Yeah, I agree. It was amazing. It was empowering. Go ahead. Go ahead. I see you. Go ahead. You wanted to talk?
Yeah, I was going to say the same. So one of the biggest things that she helped me with was speaking like you would talk to one of your girlfriends. And I was so like particular and precise. She said, Elena, we are not writing a novel. You're going to be on stage. So she really helped me capture the words like I'm talking to the girlfriend, because that's what you want to portray in your story. So it's very, very beneficial.
Yeah, and it was also, I would say, because it was a collaborative environment. Mine was in 2020. So for a couple months, we were able to all meet, and we would meet at like a space at a Carnegie Library, somewhere where we had reservations where it would just be us. And the first couple times, I would say all of us. The first time we did it, we had our coaches, we had the writing coach, we had somebody there to help us with our speaking and our body language, and really just to move us through it. But the first couple times we did it, we had to get past our initial emotions. Like a lot of us were in tears. First time we all did our monologues, we were in tears. And just to be in that space, it created such a strong sense of togetherness that no one was judging anyone. And so that sense of fear and intimidation that we may have had, knowing that we were going to go on the stage and share these very intimate stories with people, once we did it the first couple times, and Muffy was giving us the tools and her support system was there, it was like endless. Like we felt so empowered that each time we did it, the more and more we practiced and the more tools we had, we all got better and better to the point when we were on the stage, we were ready to go. So the tools were absolutely priceless, knowing that if you decide to be in the Brown Mama Monologues, you are not going to be alone. There's going to be tons of support to help you.
And just to offer another perspective, because I was in a second annual Brown Mama's Monologue, we didn't have a writing coach. So once you guys work with writing coaches, just continue to practice. I would line the boys up and just practice. And even if they moved or they got distracted, I kept going. And that really helped me, because you can get easily distracted, especially if you're nervous up there, if somebody coughs or if somebody gets up and goes to the bathroom. So once you guys work with your coaches, once you get them that evening, go home and just practice. I recorded myself also. And I listened to it, because you know how we hear our voices every day, but once you like hear your voice on a thing, you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know I sound like that. So I had to get over all of those fears. So that's just a different perspective, just because we didn't have a writing coach during the second annual Brown Mama's Monologue.
And yeah, I think definitely had that call and response. Once our audience gets together, call and response, being that it'll be live, you got to get used to that call and response, and people say things when you say something they can relate to.
It's very interactive, very much interactive. Yolanda, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I was also going to say what Andrea said. As the first annual, we did not have a writing coach per se, but Muffy was knowledgeable enough in the area of expertise to help us, like Cordelia said, enhance our story. Yes, we had our story. Yes, we had it down pat, but just to have that extra aspect to just seal the deal was priceless. And it helped with presenting the story on the stage as well, because it's still your story, regardless of what words are said or not said. It's still your story, and can't nobody tell your story like you. And so that provided a lot of confidence on the stage. And you just had to do it. At that point, once you reach the stage, there's no more nervousness. All that anxiety is out the window, because you have to do it. Somebody in that audience needs to hear your story, and that motivates you to continue on.
I would have definitely agree with Yolanda on that one. I just have a few more questions for you guys, but I would like to say, so even though the first two cohorts, technically there was not a writing coach, but Muffy Mendoza is a professional journalist. She is a writing coach in her own right. One great thing about Brown Mamas is from my standpoint, the evolution of it all and the organization, how great it is and how supportive, and starting with that vision of Muffy Mendoza and her expertise, it's just, the elevation is just awesome, and it's just everything. So technically you guys didn't have a writing coach, but y'all had a writing coach, Muffy was on it. I think I heard someone mention collaboration, and I just want to hear from you guys. How is it collaborating with the other mothers, the other women in your cohorts? You mentioned that it's very emotional at times, you were all in there together. I have not participated as far as performing a monologue, but I've been there every step of the way with you ladies. So I've seen how you guys interact with each other. So someone wants to just talk a little bit about how that collaboration with the other mothers is that would be helpful.
So I want to speak on that collaboration, because the stories that we tell and present often haven't necessarily been told. So when you're amongst these women, quote unquote strangers, and you're sharing these intimate details about your life, you just become much more than what you initially thought coming into it. And it often forms into a sisterhood that lasts long after the monologue show is over, because you're in this space with these women for several months, and you're all encouraging each other, you're all loving up on each other, you're all being supportive of each other, and it's just an amazing thing. So yes, it's your story that you're telling, but I always say that our story isn't, I forget what it is, but we all got a story to tell, basically. And in telling that story and being amongst the different women, you form a sisterhood. So it's much more than just coming in thinking that you're going to be telling a story and being alone. It's much more than that.
I'll have to agree, Yolanda. Coming in, I didn't know any of the ladies, but we definitely grew a bond. A lot of the times we were writing our story and you think you're healed, you think you're over what you're writing, but something is reopened. So you're like a lot of say, you're emotional. So we definitely supported each other through that in writing, because it was very difficult. And like she said, we're still friends today. It's really built, you just spend a lot of time together and you're sharing a lot of very intimate areas, right? So we definitely formed a bond that was long lasting, and just a sisterhood.
Definitely. And Yolanda said the quote she was thinking about was, her story isn't my story, but it's our story. And someone also put in the chat, Charmaine Gamble, just how do you deal with privacy or trust? That's a real question. So what would you guys say to that?
It's interesting that you say that, because Muffy shared a story during my time about how one of her monologues she did, I think it was the first or the second, where she really had to think about that exact question. So, in all honesty, whatever you reveal, you have to make sure that you are in a space where you're comfortable with revealing that information. And if there's something in there that your gut is telling you not to reveal, then you should not reveal it. For me, my particular story, I'm 46 now. It happened when I was 23. And because it was 2 decades later, I was comfortable with sharing it. It wasn't as fresh to me. But as she said a little bit earlier, I thought it wasn't as fresh. But when I started to speak the words that I had hidden and suppressed, inside of me for over 2 years, I did break down, in tears. But as far as privacy, I was okay with it. It was about my daughter. She was in my belly when it happened. I checked with her. If it is about your children, I strongly recommend you do not do your monologue without confirming with them that they are okay with it. Because your children, are the most important if you're talking about them. So check with them. I checked with her. I said, are you okay with me sharing this part, of my life where I was on welfare and I was struggling? Once she said she was fine with it, I was good to go.
Definitely. And Chanel just reminded us all that all the storytellers are required to sign a volunteer confidentiality agreement. And I think also that goes to what the ladies were saying earlier. You form a sisterhood. And I think that people that go into this monologue show are like-minded. Everyone is concerned about their story, and we're all of the same mind, I guess. So I would think that would be something to consider as well. But that leads me up to a question that I have as I'm wrapping up. But what would you guys say to the moms on this call who are really, really thinking about auditioning and wanting to be a part of the show? I saw some people in the chat say, this sounds exciting. So it's a two-part question. How do you know, or what advice would you give to someone when they already saying, yes, go ahead and do it? And what advice would you give to someone who's maybe on the fence and perhaps this might not be the time to share your story?
I'm going to start with the other part with being on the fence. Telling your story assists in your healing journey. And so when you really sit down and think and contemplate and make the decision, be prepared again for so much more than just telling your story. And you will know, like in the group, like if certain people will post certain things, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect for a monologue. But I've actually had people come and say, you know what, thank you, I'm not ready. And I've also had people to say, you know what, sis, thank you for pushing me. This is my time. So when it's your time, because this is going to be continuous throughout the year. So maybe this year isn't for you. But when it's your time, you will know and you will be ready for all that comes with it.
Yes, I agree, Yolanda. I love that you said when it's your time, you'll be ready, because that's what I found to be true for me. So it's like, if you are on the fence, or when you're ready to audition, you will know, you'll feel it. But also I wanted to put out, because I mean, the word audition can maybe be a little nerve inducing, right? But the reality is, it is your story. It's your story, whether you tell it as a Brown Mama monologue. It's your story if you write it, in your journal. It's your story. So when you're thinking about possibly auditioning and being a part of these upcoming shows, take ownership of the fact that this is your story, and practice even now writing your story. Find that thing that is ready to come up and to be released and revealed, because again, your story, like Yolanda said, her story isn't my story, but it's our story. And just know that there you own your story, and there's power when you own your impact, because our experiences are just that. They're experiences. And just look at it as this: if you go and you audition, it's just an audition. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to downplay it, but it's an opportunity for you to share something that's meaningful to you, that can impact another brown mama. And more importantly, like Yolanda said, like many other moms have said, it's healing. It's healing on so many levels. And look at the benefits of just being on stage. Whether you have to overcome something, whether it's the connections, the sisterhood, the experience, just know it's your story no matter what, and it's healing. So go for it. I say go for it.
Yeah, I agree. You don't have to be perfect. I just wanted to add that I think a lot of time mamas think you have to be you have to be a trained performer, but you do not. Matter of fact, the more authentic you are and less rehearsed you are, it makes for a better performance. I mean, once you get in and you do have to practice and make sure you memorize it and you learn it, like one of the mamas said earlier, but the more authentic your piece is and the real it is, it's the way you talk, the way you move, and who you are and how you show up on the stage. It makes for a better monologue.
I would definitely agree with that. And I would just encourage all of the ladies on the call today to engage with Brown Mamas on the website, through social media, get to know other people, other women on this call, in the Facebook group. And you can just have a better idea about what to expect. And also you can DM people, message people to get some other one-on-one conversations going about it as well. But I would encourage everyone to definitely audition, give it a try. If it's not your time now, it will be another time. And also, as I send it back over to Chanel, there may be opportunities to volunteer for the actual monologue show. You might not be able to do a monologue this time, but a volunteer effort or just being there for the ladies in another kind of aspect. So thank you all for, yes, and Yolanda said, watch past monologues on YouTube. Yes, it's produced excellently. And I am a part of the production team. So I'm putting a hat out to all of the people involved in that as well. But I'm going to pass it back over to Chanel so we can wrap up and she can give you guys some very important information. But again, please connect on social media. These ladies would love to talk to you guys more.
Thank you, Allegra, and I thank all of the former storytellers. Just really appreciate y'all, and just appreciate your time and your authenticity. I think I got it. And just, and your willingness to be here and be present with us. And so just want to second what Allegra said and what everybody said. Truly with the monologues, we are everyday moms up on stage telling a story. A lot of us were not trained speakers, we were not trained writers. We just knew something in our heart told us this is our time to do it. And I think it was Elena or Andrea that said they did it with fear anyway. And I think that's really like the sentiment that we all had. You hear that music playing, you're about to go on stage and you're like, all right, ain't no turning back now. I gotta do this, and when I say it is the most, it's just the best experience in the world. Like, I don't even know how to put it into words. And I know they all can agree with that, from day one to when I say truly, when you get off that stage to when all of the storytellers have spoke and you just have a chance to just be a part of that vibe, be a part of that environment. You will truly leave knowing that you are part of history, that you are part of a sisterhood too, and you will build relationships along the way too. So, definitely take advantage of this opportunity. So I'm gonna give you some logistical stuff now, and then we'll wrap up with some questions. And so if you do have some questions, you can definitely put them in the chat. And if any one of the storytellers or Allegra is able to kind of man the chat too, and if you're able to answer the questions, we'll do that. But we are almost done, y'all. I am really anal about time, so we're gonna wrap up. We might go like maybe 5 minutes over, but so anyway, so just again, some important information regarding auditions. And so we are doing actually virtual auditions first. So I think that's pretty dope, because if you are nervous, you're able to submit your audition virtually first. And there is an audition form, and I will put that form, the link to the form, in the chat. And I will also make sure that it is emailed out to everybody too. Again, we have everybody's emails because you registered. So let me just copy the link real quick and put it in the chat. And I'm gonna have to go back to the live and put it in the live too. I'm sorry, y'all can't multitask like that. So the link for the audition form is in the chat. And so you will notice on the audition form, it basically goes over what we talked about in terms of, what's a monologue. It provides another story. So there's another storyteller where you'll get a chance to see her story too. And then it just asks you a simple question. Do you think your story fits into the mold or the criteria of a monologue? If you do, you click yes, it takes you through the rest of the audition. If you don't, you click no and you do not submit your application or your interest form. Maybe at this time, maybe you submit it a couple days later, or maybe you submit it next year. But again, our goal is to make sure that you are as prepared as possible for the monologues and truly getting on stage to tell your story at your most authentic self. So the virtual auditions, and so like I said, I put that link to the form in the chat. We will keep that open actually until the end of October. So I'm looking at, I think, October 28th, I believe. And so you'll have an opportunity, but I do suggest that you get them in as soon as you can, because we do have to go through all of them and watch all of them. The length of your audition, you got a chance to watch Ngozi's, her actual monologue, and most of the ladies average about maybe 4 to 5 minutes long. And so we don't want you to try to be so focused on trying to cut your monologue down to those minutes, but truly just speak from the heart. Like I said, write it out first and truly just speak from the heart. When you're submitting your virtual audition, and even if you get invited to the in-person audition, don't think you have to have it memorized. Have your paper with you if you need it. But just know that we don't want you to be up there, telling a speech. We truly want you to be telling a story. We want you to help us kind of come into your shoes and understand it from your perspective. We want to really be able to feel, see, hear, what whatever this experience was for you. And like Allegra said, no stories are off limits at all. You are the mom that was on this journey. And so whether your story is about you as a mother or as a woman, it's your story. So just tell it, to the best of your ability. And so the actual in-person audition dates will be November 5th. And so we are holding 2 in-person auditions. November 5th is the first one. And so those will be for the ladies in the Pittsburgh region. And then November 12th will be the second one. And that date will be for ladies outside of the Pittsburgh region. Now, the actual audition will be here in Pittsburgh, but it will be for those specifically coming from outside of the region. And so in terms of like out of town, we will accommodate. So we'll make travel arrangements for the ladies for that, as well as for if you get picked to be in a show. So we will cover those travel arrangements for you all. And Cordelia, if you want to speak to that really quickly, because I know that was something that you experienced in terms of like that travel and everything. And so if you don't mind just sharing that with the ladies who will be traveling.
Yes, that was a good point, because I was traveling from New York to the DMV area, and the travel arrangements are made for you. So we did get the dates ahead of time. We didn't have as many in-person engagements, but when we did have them, Muffy or the whole admin team, you have everything. All you have to do is show up and tell your story. So I say they make it as easy as possible, and travel accommodations were made. We were taking the train, Amtrak. Was cool with me. It was beautiful. And we had a good time. So yeah, travel accommodations were great. Everyone was just very communicative, communicating. It was just a really good experience. So I didn't feel any anxiety or anything. I just got to show up with my papers printed out and ready to do the work.
And you brought up a good point, like even in terms of like rehearsals and things like that, kind of what you can expect. So one of the things that we did learn this year is that we needed to have a few more rehearsals, in which we had these impromptu rehearsals. But in terms of rehearsals, it would be 4 in person and then 4 virtual. And so again, the goal is to make sure that you are as prepared as possible to get on stage. And so in addition to those rehearsals, like there are some really dope things that we do in between time. One of the things is the ladies got a chance to go to brunch. And so we talk about that sisterhood and bonding. So we, everyone goes to brunch. We do a photo shoot. So so that you are just as beautiful as possible whenever we're putting that marketing stuff out there, because we want y'all, we want to make sure that we are dignifying and representing y'all. And so there's a photo shoot, there's a video recording. And so at the it depends on how we'll do it this year. I know for our show we did that before our monologue started. There was like a little snippet that we had to do, but that production team that Allegra is talking about, that she's a part of, is so dope. Like when you're a part of it, you're like, wow, this is the real deal. So I'm just telling y'all, it's the real deal. And even my husband, who's sometimes a skeptic, when he came to the show, he was like, yo, this is the real deal. And it's so nice because y'all, it is a Black woman whose vision came together and put this together, seriously. And just her knowing that she couldn't do it by herself, and knowing that she had to entrust others to do it, I think is what makes it all the more better. All right, so could you mention travel again? So yes, in terms of travel, we do handle travel accommodations as well as reimbursement for travel. I hope I answered the question.
And someone also wanted to know the deadline for the audition. I believe it was October 28th.
Yeah, let me just double check my calendar, but I believe it's October 28th, and that's for the virtual audition. And so, like I said, if you're able to get yours in a lot sooner, please do that, because we do have to go through them all. But October 28th, and we are accepting. So in the past, there were 10 storytellers, but just you learn as you grow. And so with this showcase, we're looking at 6 to 8 women, moms total, who would be the storytellers for this show. And a couple of those would be our moms from out of town also. All right, so in terms of like what you can bring to audition, again, just bring your most authentic self, bring your story, bring your smile, bring your tears, whatever you need to bring, bring it all, bring your whole self to the auditions, even as you're submitting your virtual audition too. So when you go onto the form, there's a link on there. All of the fields are required except for when it's time to upload your story. And the reason why is because for some reason you may have difficulty uploading your story. And so if you do have difficulty uploading it, the next section gives you an option to just paste the link. And so if you record it on like maybe a YouTube or Vimeo, you're able to just paste the link directly into it. But if you do have any issues with uploading, just reach out to us and we'll try to walk you through it. But don't wait till the last minute and you got issues because that might be a little bit more difficult for us to help you with. So, but are there any other questions? Ladies, is there anything that I missed that we need to cover?
Chanel, is
Yeah.
there a weekly commitment? Or I know you said there's 4 in person and 4 virtual events, but is there like a weekly commitment? And if so, what day would that be, or how does that work?
So that's a really good question. Thank you, Beth. That's a really good question. And so I would say from a weekly perspective, and some of the other ladies can jump in, but from a weekly perspective, it's more so you need to be at home practicing, and really just honing in on your monologues. But in terms of rehearsals, and so based on the schedule, and don't quote me on this, but we do have most of the dates already secure because of the venue that we'll be using. And so it looks like they were a Saturday. I think it was the 3rd Saturday of the month. So starting in January up until before the show. So you'll have that 3rd Saturday of the month where you'll have your in-person rehearsals. And then that virtual rehearsal would be, I think that 4th Sunday. So it's like a Saturday and a Sunday, in-person, virtual, and then in between those, like I said, you'll have the brunch, which is optional, but some of the other things that you'll have is the photo shoot. We do a meet and greet, which is actually your first event, and so the meet and greet is where you get a chance to meet the former storytellers. You do your photo shoot and things like that, and then there may be some other things kind of filtered in there. But in terms of the dates and the commitments, we do try to get you all of that stuff up front so that you're able to block your calendars off, also so that you're able to plan accordingly. The expectation is that you are able to make almost all of them, but we understand. But we don't want someone who's like, oh, I can't make anyone. And it's like, it's not going to work, and so we want to make sure that you're as committed as possible because we truly want to make sure that when you're on stage that you are just able to just to blow it out the water for real.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
So I did want to just speak to that quickly because I do understand, like I'm a mom of 5. So I understand maybe even some hesitation about the time commitment, but the reality is being in this show is a commitment. And, it's not to deter anyone, but to understand this is not going to be a fly by night. It's a commitment to telling your story. You're also a part of a larger vision. So it's like, yeah, you might have the 4 in person and 4 virtual, but it is a commitment to show up on the calls. It's a commitment for you to practice. It's a commitment for you to make your appointments with the writing coach or, whatever other things are required for you to show up in excellence because your story deserves that. And then also the other moms in the program also. So I just wanted to say that if there's any hesitation, just to be realistic about what you can and cannot commit to, but also understand that it's a commitment. And when you do make a commitment, I know you'll find a way. So don't be hesitant, but just also have the understanding that it's a commitment. I'm going to be committed to it from January to however long it takes. This is what I'm doing. And show up and you'll be better for it. So I just wanted to say that. I didn't want it to be like, oh, well, maybe. No, it's not a maybe because we're all in this.
Thank you, sis. Appreciate that.
I was getting ready to say real quick, and that's an example of how the sisterhood grows, and they ain't afraid to check you if need be, but just being honest and transparent, like it is what it is. It's a full commitment.
Yep. Appreciate y'all.
I'm Andrea again. I was running a business. I had 3 little boys. I didn't have a car at the time, and I was making it. So I was very committed. I was practicing. I was doing everything that I needed to do, and I killed it. I did. It was funny because right before I went on stage, I said, "Muffy, I forgot all my words," and she said, "Girl, if you don't get up there." So it is a commitment, and if I can do it, I know you guys can do it. If you do decide to move forward, because I was juggling a lot at the time, but I made the commitment and I made it work.
Thank y'all, appreciate y'all. And so in terms of like timeline and everything, and so if you are selected, you will get an email basically saying, hey, you've been selected. These are the dates. We need you to confirm your participation so that you will have that information up front. But again, like everyone said, it is a commitment, because this is the vision for the monologues. Like, I can't even begin to tell y'all just some of the things that, some of the possibilities and opportunities that some of the ladies experience who are the storytellers that come out of this, but also just some of the bigger things that have happened and are happening and manifesting for Brown Mamas that you may be a part of too. When I say big stuff, so just keep that in mind. It really is a chance for you to show up, and you got to show up just like my kids play sports. The way you practice is the way you're going to perform, and that's something we tell them all the time. How you show up in practice is how you should show up on the court. So the commitment is real, but the reward, I think, is even greater too. All right, y'all. Is there anything else, any more questions? If not, like I said, the form was placed in the chat. You will receive an email tomorrow morning just as a follow-up with the information, with the graphic, as well as, just a reminder, hey, audition. What's the worst that can happen? Audition. But we look forward to y'all. We appreciate y'all. And if there's no more questions, we are good to go.